I've just seen what hell is like. When I woke up that night, drenched in cold sweat, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't the nightmare itself that set me on edge. Those had become routine. But rather the deep, throbbing sense that what I'd just seen wasn't a dream at all. It felt real, more vivid than any nightmare I'd had before. And then there was the smell, sharp and acrid, like burned metal, lingering in the air as if it had seeped through my skin and into the room. It started 2 weeks ago, when my friend Matt dared me to visit the abandoned church at the edge of town. "It's just an old building," he said, grinning in that way that always meant trouble. But as we stood there, flashlights in hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that the church had been waiting for us. Its Gothic spires loomed, half-broken and covered in creeping vines, and the stone entrance seemed to breathe as we pushed it open. Inside, we found nothing but the remnants of splintered pews and shattered stained glass. Yet, on the altar, something caught my eye. An old, crumbling book, the cover embossed with symbols that seemed to writhe when looked at directly. Against my better judgment, I picked it up. "Put that down," Matt said, his voice unsteady. For once, he wasn't laughing. But curiosity overrode caution, and I opened the first page. The words were in a language I didn't understand, inked in dark crimson. As I whispered one of the phrases aloud, an unnatural wind swept through the room, extinguishing our flashlights. The air seemed to vibrate, thick with an energy that made my skin prickle. Then, everything went black. That night, and every night since, my dreams had been invaded by a hellish landscape. Each time, I found myself in the same place. An endless plain of charred ground, black as obsidian, cracked with deep, glowing fissures that oozed molten fire. The sky above was a sickly shade of gray, swirling with clouds that seemed alive. And the heat, it pressed against my skin, stifling, suffocating. There were figures there, too. Twisted, tormented forms that shambled through the scorched earth, their mouths open in silent screams. Their eyes, empty sockets glowing with a dim, malevolent light, seemed to follow me wherever I went. I couldn't understand what they were, only that they were once human and were now something far worse. But last night was different. Last night, I saw it. The creature that haunted the center of that forsaken realm. It stood at least 20 feet tall, a grotesque amalgamation of bone and shadow, with limbs that split and twisted as it moved. It had no face, only a smooth expanse of dark, shifting matter. Yet when it turned in my direction, I felt its gaze pierce through me, an impossible coldness that shattered the burning heat around me. "You do not belong here," a voice boomed, low and resonant, seeming to come from both the sky and the ground. It wasn't spoken. It vibrated through my entire being, shaking the very core of who I was. I tried to run, but the ground split beneath my feet, and I fell into darkness deeper than any I had ever known. I woke up screaming, my throat raw and my body trembling. The room was dark, but the acrid smell still lingered, stronger now. I reached for my bedside lamp, fumbling as my hands shook, and when the light flickered on, my blood turned to ice. There, on the floor, etched into the wood as if burned by an invisible hand, were the same symbols from the book. They glowed faintly, pulsating like a heartbeat. And then I heard it, a distant, guttural growl that seemed to echo from beneath the floorboards. I don't know what I brought back from that church, but I do know one thing. I've seen what hell is like, and it's not just a place. It's a presence, one that's found its way into my world. And now, it's waiting for me.